Hey guys, what is up? Mikey Laker Talk. Let's talk Lakers basketball. All right, so in this video, I want to recap the Lakers' first quarter of the season. We play 82 games throughout the year, so you can sum up every quarter around that 20 game mark. We're a little over the first quarter at 22-3, but I want to recap our first quarter. We're going to give grades, talk about our players, key role players, question marks, whether or not we're going to make any moves before the February 6th trade deadline. We'll talk about that, coaching staff, and teams to watch as we move through December on through January, before the first half is over in the season. That's around the All-Star break. But we got Miami tonight. This has no bearing on what we do tonight in Miami, but I got us winning nonetheless in Miami. It's a national TV game. Basically every national TV game we get LeBron James full max potential. He goes nuts. So look for LeBron James to have a big game tonight. You can have the celebrities, heck, Laker players in the crowd, Miami. Plus Miami is hurt on the personnel side. I don't think they have Tyler Hero tonight. I don't think they have Justice Winslow. He's out. They don't have Gordon Dragic. So, and Dion Waiters is a basket case. That fool's suspended again. So they're hurting on the personnel side. So nonetheless, Miami is a good team in the East, and we got to respect them. But it's going to be a big game tonight. National TV. I got us winning this game. I have a Christmas party tonight, so I probably won't get a video recap after the game, depending on what time I get home. But if I don't, I'm definitely going to have a video tomorrow before noon, probably get my recap on what went down tonight. Anyway, on to the review of the first quarter. Right off the bat, you give the Lakers an A+. I mean, what can we say? We're 22-3, and they basically they've exceeded expectations on what we thought. Even though Laker fans are nuts and we think we're going to go 82-0 throughout the year, we thought we're going to be the best team ever on paper. Heck, the Lakers came close to that, 22-3. I mean, I thought we'd probably have maybe 6 or 7 or 8 losses up to this point, still being in that 1-4, that 1-4 range in terms of, but we're the top team in the NBA with Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, hell, A+. Right off the bat, A+ for the team. Our superstars are playing better than expected. I would have thought we were going to kind of say, hey man, LeBron, you got to step it up here on this side of the ball. He's played every freaking game of the year so far. AD's played every game outside of one when he got the shoulder. LeBron James is playing both sides of the ball, both ends of the floor, offense, defense, playing like an MVP caliber player. AD's playing like an MVP caliber player. I mean, like, this is like a godsend, right? So A++ for the team, A++ for them. So our superstars are playing like they should on paper, like on 2K. They're balling out. Our role players are fitting in. The chemistry is on point. The bench is having fun. Everybody knows their role, outside of a few players, which we'll talk about. But nonetheless, one thing about, a lot of people were saying about the how our schedule is kind of weak, early on. I think that was great for our chemistry, even though we're going to move on and we play, some tougher teams upcoming and stuff like that. I think playing against some of these weaker teams kind of helped us figure things out. As you can see, it helped Caruso become a key role player, which I'll talk about in a second. It helped KCP turn his game around when he was struggling early on. I think it's going to, the only other player, which I'll talk about in a second, is Kyle Kuzma, which he's a question mark. But if those guys turned it around, where I was on those guys, maybe Kyle Kuzma can turn it around as well. So nonetheless, I think the easy schedule kind of helped build our chemistry where everybody knows their role, everybody knows their minutes. And outside of Kyle, I'll say Kyle Kuzma is still figuring out his minutes. I'll give him that. Kyle Kuzma is still figuring out his minutes, but everybody else knows their role. All role players and the coaching staff. The minutes are great. Shout out to the coaching staff as well. A+ for Frank Vogel. A+ for the coaching staff. So when it comes to, I love what Frank Vogel is doing from the jump, from training camp. Spoke defense, talk defense, held these guys accountable, and is keeping them accountable. Top team defensively throughout the year. Calls great timeouts even when we're struggling. Calls timeouts at the perfect time. LeBron James respects him. Everybody on the team respects him. He gives some of the great pre-game and post-game interviews. He says the right things. I love everything about Frank Vogel. So Frank Vogel, A++, could be coach of the year if we keep this up. Shout out to Frank Vogel. Keep doing what you're doing. I love what he's doing with LeBron James and AD this first quarter of the season, where he's taking LeBron James out around that 5-minute mark in the first quarter. AD's coming in, or AD's staying in with the role players and playing really well. First, start of the second quarter, LeBron James come back in, AD leaves, takes his break, and then LeBron James plays with the role players. And then at some point, he brings them back in along with the starting lineup to kind of end the half. It's been going great. So the team is balling right now, and defensively they're on point. They even got, when AB was hurt, they even had the Avery Bradley challenge, where basically everybody is being held accountable to ball up on the defensive side of the ball and kind of man up and play good one-on-one defense. So, I mean, I can't say enough about Frank Vogel, the team, and how we're playing defense and things like that, and the minutes and the things like that. Last game was kind of trippy because Pete from Laker Film Room did say this, and I agree with him. He said this is the only questionable time where Frank Vogel had a weird lineup in. You know what I mean? Because we had Rondo was out, Kyle Kuzma was out, so he comes in with Jared Dudley and Caruso, and it was like, and then he had Caruso, Dudley, Troy Daniels, and somebody else. It was just a weird lineup, and so that was the only time throughout the season. But at the same time, somebody tweeted and said he has no other choice. So I like what he did there. And if Kyle Kuzma's out, he said he thinking sub in Jared Dudley, and Jared Dudley, every time he's been able to shoot, the dude is shooting like over 50%. He's shooting high clips. So I mean, nonetheless, shout out to Frank Vogel. We had a 24-point lead in that game, but it did slip. But that outside of that, his lineups are on point. Like his minutes and everything is on point. Another thing about the coaching staff is this. I'll give our coaching staff, not just Frank Vogel, A++. I'll give our coaching staff an A++. And what do I mean by that? Or I'll give them an A. I'll say this, because they still have work to do with Kyle Kuzma. But I think what they did with Caruso, what they did with KCP, I think that credit goes to the coaching staff. Because as we've seen right now, KCP's game is completely different from the first few weeks of this first quarter, where he was in his head. He wasn't playing good basketball. He wasn't playing good offense. He wasn't playing good defense. And something went down. Somebody spoke to him. I give a credit to the coaching staff, Lyon Hollins, Jason Kidd, all those guys for speaking with KCP, in my opinion, and really getting him on track. Because as you see now, he's playing good team basketball. He's taken limited shots. Last game, he took 10 shots because he had to. We didn't have that many people playing, but or too much offense going on, so he had to take those shots. But outside of that, he's keeping his shots to around 6 to 5 shots a game, starting, on the team, and he's playing lights out, playing great defense, playing team ball. His passing game is on point over the last several weeks, and to the point to where KCP definitely should stay in the starting lineup, even with Avery Bradley coming back from injury. KCP should stay in the starting lineup. That's how good he is, and that's how good we are with him in the starting lineup. Nonetheless, I think not only that, I think Avery Bradley is great off the bench, but putting KCP off the bench, I think because the starting him kind of turned his game around a little bit. But his game was getting turned around even when he was coming off the bench right before AB went down. So KCP goes in there. I think we put KCP on the bench. He might fall off the wagon and get back to his old ways. But nonetheless, I like KCP in the starting lineup. AB coming off the bench. I would keep KCP in the starting lineup. So shout out to the Lakers coaching staff for, I think, for pretty much doing all that. I give that credit to the coaching staff. So overall, team A++. Frank Vogel, A+. Coaching staff, A. They still have work to do. So when we talk about, let's just run down the players. We're gonna talk about key players and question marks. Let's just leave LeBron James, Anthony Davis out of this. Those guys are MVP candidates. They're good. Go take a seat. Moving on to our role players. Key role players for the first quarter. Caruso, huge. First couple games of the season, I was like, this dude needs to belong in the G League. He looks scared. He looks like, you know, he's not putting it together. Now he's a key player for us. Comes in, he's stable. Though we saw last game, he doesn't have the handles like Rondo. He can't really run the team as much as Rondo can in terms of like dribbling, running pick and rolls, and really managing and being a floor general. He's not there yet, but he's a key role player for us when he comes in and he subs in for LeBron James off the bench. So Caruso's big, KCP, as I just mentioned. Dwight Howard, I mean, what can we say about Dwight Howard? Nobody thought Dwight Howard would be this good. So Caruso, KCP, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee. Listen, JaVale McGee doesn't play that middle of the game, but he's great for the first few minutes. Start the game, first few minutes of the second half. And so shout out to JaVale McGee for being consistent there. And then I'm gonna go Rondo. So you got Caruso, KCP, Dwight, JaVale, and Rondo as my key role players. And then right besides that, I'm going to go Danny Green and then Avery Bradley. Now, the reason why I got Danny Green right below those guys, because Danny Green's been kind of shaky with his jump shot. Though I think he's shooting well, he seems a little streaky, if you know what I mean. Like, if you watch the games, he doesn't seem like, I thought he was really streaky. But when you look at his stats, he is shooting, I think, around that 40% mark from three. But nonetheless, he's a little streaky to me. Like, he can go a game without hitting something, and then he'll come back the next game and he'll hit. So to me, he's a little streaky, though he started every game. He plays good defense. I got Danny Green right below our key role players. And you got Danny Green, and then you got Avery Bradley, who has been solid, but he's been hurt for a few weeks, and so we got to keep him healthy. But outside of those guys, Caruso, KCP, Dwight, JaVale, Rondo, who's been balling, Danny Green, AB, I give all those guys like key role player marks. Moving on to the question marks. You can throw Troy Daniel in there because Troy Daniel wasn't really expected to do much, but he's still kind of like, we don't know what we're going to get from him when he's in the game. Jared Dudley as well. Jared Dudley doesn't play, but when he does play and he shoots, he's shooting at a high clip. So shout out to Jared Dudley. The next two that are two question marks on our team is, I would say, Kyle Kuzma and Quinn Cook. Quinn Cook is trippy for me, because here's the thing about Quinn Cook. I watched Quinn Cook last year in the playoffs with the Warriors, and the dude was balling. How could he be so good or such a good role player for the Warriors last year that had KD, freaking Clay, Steph, Draymond? You had 4 All-Stars playing with Quinn Cook, and Quinn Cook played some huge games in the playoffs. And for us, he can't even get on the floor. Like, he can't be trusted. As you can see, Frank Vogel doesn't trust him. So for me, that's really puzzling. Like, it's a trip. I don't know what it is about Quinn Cook, but I would love for him to get it together. But to be honest with you, every time I see him, he looks like he belongs in the G League too. Like, he just looks scared. Like, his confidence level is not there. And it's not just his shot, his confidence level. Like, he just fumbles the ball here and there. He's just not a good quality backup point guard. So he's a question mark. And then obviously we all know about Kyle Kuzma. I don't even have to spend too much time on Kyle Kuzma. Everybody in the world knows that we would love Kyle Kuzma to get back to being who we think he could be. Outside of saying that, that's the big question marks. And so I predicted as kind of like a hot take around November 11th. I said, I think we might be moving Kyle Kuzma come February 6th. I know a lot of people hate to hear that. I wouldn't want that. I would love for Kyle Kuzma to turn it around and become a solid role player. I would love for Quinn Cook to turn it around and become a solid role player. But if these guys don't turn it around and they remain inconsistent throughout December, January, names might be thrown out, getting packaged. Quinn Cook, because he's not playing, and Kyle Kuzma, who we probably get some good value for, and maybe package somebody else. I don't know. To be determined. Do I want him traded? I mean, I'm not wishing the guy be traded. I wish he can turn it around. So just like Caruso and KCP did. I don't want KCP or Caruso traded. I want those guys because they're key role players for us. So heck yeah, I would love for Kyle Kuzma and Quinn Cook to turn it around, and we just keep our squad. So anyway, moving on, just lastly, just in closing, teams to look forward to, teams to keep an eye on as we move forward. I mentioned these two teams early on, like several weeks ago, and now they're getting mentioned in the media a lot. The Kings are now 7th in the playoff picture. I think they're going to be even better. So obviously keep an eye on the Kings and obviously Dallas. Everybody knows what Dallas is doing. Those two teams that kind of scare me more than, I would say, even the Rockets, because we know what the Rockets are going to give us. And Denver's good, but I'm putting Clippers, Dallas, the Kings, Denver, Rockets. Those are the 5 teams to watch and respect as we move through this second half, or into the second half of the season, onto the All-Star break. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Hit me up in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. Anything I missed, anything you might want to throw out there, hit me up in the comments. Give this video a like if you like the video, and appreciate you guys supporting the channel. As always, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not, and click on that notification to be notified every time I release a video like this. As always, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at MikeSportsLA. I'll let you guys possibly after the game, definitely tomorrow. We'll talk soon. Peace.